Hello, everyone. It is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, back again with another, well, it's a live stream, but this one is a little bit different. One of the most asked questions, period, in the last few months is what does the future hold for express entry candidates in 2021? Well, I don't talk a little bit about my day job. I get on here, people fire off questions, I share answers, but I don't really get into too much about my day job other than I'm an immigration lawyer. Well, on top of that, I'm currently serving as the national chair of the Canadian Bar Association. I was a former immigration officer. I worked on the border. I worked with the hearings officers downtown in Calgary before I became a lawyer. And I have had the opportunity to really, over the last year, have some pretty interesting discussions with immigration officers, with the immigration department heads, with politicians. I appeared before the Standing Committee on Immigration back in November on the effects of COVID on immigration programs. I've met with the members of parliament, like I said. I've met with the immigration minister and his staff just recently. And it is, I think of anything that I could do right now in terms of these live streams, it's to help shed a little bit of light on everything that is going to be happening in 2021. And so stay tuned because that's what we're going to cover today. Okay, there will definitely be time for questions and answers throughout this whole thing because my goal is not to just sit up here and just to talk. I want to hear from you. I want you to share your thoughts. I want you to think about think about the future, think about yourself, think about what I'm sharing with you today, and then make decisions that make sense for you. There is always a ton of speculation, and even with what I'm going to share with you today about my vision and what I see is going to happen with immigration in 2021, and in particular, the impact it's going to have on express entry candidates, and in particular, separating out that impact for people that are already in Canada and people that are outside of Canada. You have to ultimately make the decision that's best for you in terms of what you are going to do. Now, a lot of this is also going to be completely outside of your control. And I know there are a ton of you out there who have confirmations of permanent residence that are valid that can't travel. There's some that have them that are expired. There's some that are basically languishing because nothing's happening on your file. And to a large extent, all the way back to March 18th of 2020, much of the outland applicants have been stalled out. And that is a reality. We're in the midst of a pandemic. We know without a doubt that that is the main reason why everything is ground to a halt. You can do as many access to information requests, obtaining your GCMS notes. You can do it every month to see where your application's at. And you may not see a single step going forward to advance the processing of your file if you're outside of Canada. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. This is quite hilarious. Okay, I'm going to post some comments and I want to give a shout out for those that are watching live. So we've got here, and I'm just going to pull them up right here on the screen this time. We're going to go au natural. We're going to keep this up in big, and actually I can probably post them right down here. We're going to get some big comments. I'm going to go just right natural here, not flipping around with too many screens. All right, so what we're going to do here is just identify those who are attending. All right. Amin says, hey, Mark, you look presidential. Keep safe. Glad you said it. I am here, and it's all about business today, guys. This is my business professional look because this is all about business today. Hope you keep safe as well, Amin. All right, let's see what else we have here. Rahaf says, good morning. It's Rahaf from Calgary. I just became an RCIC. I'm learning a lot from you. Thank you for doing these live sessions. I'm going to give you right here one of these. Congratulations. That's awesome. And I really am grateful that what I'm doing here is beneficial to you. So give you a big shout out, Rahaf. All right. Oh, this is good. Okay. We'll start off here with IceSX. Invest in Bitcoin. Do not sit there and watch other people make money. That is so hilarious. Except, you know what? My good friend here who is trying to sabotage my program here. This is so awesome. I wish I could share this with you. Okay. So look at this right here. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. Pull it back. Maybe you can see it. Oh, it's too glary. Oh, if I turn my phone just slightly, you can see here that I'm watching the rise of Bitcoin on my own camera, on my own phone, because yes, I have actually invested in Bitcoin. So, and I've been pleased to see it climb and climb and climb. So there you go. Shout out for IceSX. Don't go through IceSX. Go through the product that I use, which is called well, let's see. I better figure out what it's called. It's called Shake Pay. Awesome. Nothing like having someone come in and kind of sidetrack everything that you're talking about here. Okay, Rodriguez says, thanks for all you're doing. You're very welcome. And then the Facebook users here who are anonymous, you guys are all on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, which is over 126,000 people now. Because of the private nature of it, Facebook doesn't let your profiles appear. So you're kind of an anonymous person, but I see you, I hear you, and thank you so much. If you want to have your questions and your profile visible so I can see who you are when I'm talking to you, which I always like, go over to the Canadian Immigration Institute page, the Facebook page, or you can watch it on Periscope, Holthe Immigration Law, or some of you have tuned in on YouTube, the Canadian Immigration Institute. So hello to all of you. Okay, Samita says hello. What about FSW rounds? You bet. We're going to be talking about that. You bet. We're going to be talking about FSW rounds. Any predictions for the minimum CRS score? All these are awesome. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to address each of those in a systematic way. So good morning to you too. Nazar says, looking good. Thank you. You know what? Sometimes as well, like if I do this right here, let me flip this off and I'm going to add this in right here if I can. There. This is what it is right now. If I look out my window all day, the flurries were coming down and it was super cold and super snowy. And at that time, like in those situations, I am so grateful that I have an actual cloud-based firm where I can work in my home. I actually don't have to leave. Now, the trade-off, as you can see from the weight I've been putting on, is that when you sit in front of your computer for hours on end, days that turn to weeks, that turn to months with this COVID and the quarantining and the self-isolation and not a lot of riding your bike around, well, yeah. So I would be a perfect candidate for the before pictures before a weight loss program. All right. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, these are all the exact questions that we're going to be talking about. When will IRCC lift the ban on post-March 18th, 2020 COPR holders? We are absolutely going to address that. And, you know, why wasn't there a draw? All of this stuff. These are awesome questions. So as always, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know you're all over the world, and I haven't asked you to post like I usually do. But let's just jump right into this. Let's just start talking about what we've got here. So the reality is, one of the things that we've clearly seen is that COVID-19 and this pandemic is not going away. There are these new variants that are coming out that are freaking out our government here in Canada. We look at other countries that took a more strict stance, like Australia, where they created the COVID hotels right at the very beginning. And I have a brother who's a citizen. He's in Australia. He's an Australian citizen now. He's moved there, lives there, practices as a dentist near Brisbane. And you know, when everything started to hit the fan in those early days in March of 2020, countries like Australia locked down, New Zealand locked down, and Canada, because of our close relationship with the United States and other countries, we thrive and we function on the cross-border movement of goods and services. And so it wasn't a simple matter for us to just shut things down, close the border. It wasn't possible. So we chose not to go the route of Australia and instead to try to let people in based on cohort. So we first started with those who had valid COPRs before March 18th. We restricted all non-essential travel, anything that was considered to be optional or discretionary. And you can go back and watch those videos that I did. I did a really good one with Kyle Heineman, my good friend, in those early days where we talked about those travel restrictions. And interestingly, as an immigration lawyer, I have really become a travel restriction expert in a way. And I withdraw expert because I can't ever say I'm an expert. But the reality is we spent much of our time trying to understand and demystify these crazy orders in council. And I say crazy from the standpoint of so unpredictable. And because of that, I spent most of my day letting people know whether or not they could travel. And then we went through the period of you individuals with confirmations of permanent residence that were issued maybe before March 18th or after, but because of flight restrictions, because of lockdowns in your own country, you were unable to leave. And there was this massive cohort of individuals that had expired COPRs that the government said, look, you're not going to lose it. Let us know you're going to keep it. We'll let you in. So those individuals were stuck. And I appeared before the standing committee, like I said, on citizenship and immigration before the politicians in Ottawa virtually to give my thoughts on this topic. And there were other individuals lobbying for everything from people with those expired COPRs under express entry that they're eating up their settlement funds before they could actually travel. You know, they were stuck in their countries. They pulled their kids out of school. They'd quit their jobs. They'd sold their homes, and now they couldn't travel. Well, immigration finally, after months and months, worked through those. And I don't know if there's any of you, COPRs that have expired COPRs that are still in that queue that haven't been able to travel. It's entirely possible. I know I heard stories of people from India who received travel letters from immigration. And even with those travel letters, the airlines refused to board. Because if the airline boards you, you arrive in Canada, the border officers say, not eligible for entry. The airline's on the hook to fly you back. And with the financial catastrophe that the airlines are experiencing, they all became gun shy. So even in some circumstances, when you were actually eligible, the airlines would be the ones that would shut you down. So this is the world that we've been living in. And I think we all hoped, all of us, that this would be long gone. I know in early spring of 2020, we hoped that in the fall of 2020, the vaccine would be here, restrictions would be lifted and life would go back to normal. But guys, life is not going back to normal anytime soon. And in my meetings, like I said, with the head immigration, as the national chair of the Canadian Bar Association, I participated in phone conference calls, very shortly after the pandemic hit, after the borders were locked, after the immigration programs were all affected. We as immigration lawyers and our other counterparts would meet with immigration every 2 weeks, then it became every month, to talk about the issues, to try to get information to them, how their decision making, which was being made on the fly. In the past, they take 3 months to make a change. Now they were making they were doing it in 3 days. So because of all of this, you guys, I've had a chance to see these trends. I've had a chance to see where things are going. I've had specific discussions with the decision makers who were determining whether or not you are going to be allowed into Canada, whether or not you are going to be an individual with a confirmation of permanent residence that can actually board and come to Canada. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. That's what I'm going to get at. Now, people are probably watching and saying, goodness, Mark, just get with it. What is going to happen? Well, the reason I spent so much time giving you the landscape of this world, which is the protection, this is what's driving it. So public health for Affairs Canada, or the Public Health Agency of Canada, FAC we call them, they are the ones that are determining whether or not they feel it's safe for someone to be able to come in, and the quarantining across the country at the federal level. And then they have to, because health is often dealt with at a provincial level, they have to interact with all the provinces. So any decisions that are being made are just so multifaceted. But one thing that we know after going through all these meetings, after having more meetings here in January, is that things are not going to get better anytime soon. They're not. And I don't want to be a fearmonger. I don't want people to say, oh, the doors to Canada are closed. But I'll be honest, to a large extent, if you are a federal skilled worker applicant, things are not going to get better anytime soon. And so you have to face this as a reality. If you cannot board a plane and you cannot travel to Canada, it doesn't matter if you have a visa issued or not. And because of that, our immigration department recognizes that they need to look at all of their options to try to meet these very, very high immigration levels that they have intended to bring in. Now, when we talk about immigration levels, what we're talking about is the number of new immigrants Canada feels like we as a country can take on in each given cycle, whether it's a year or 3 years, whatever the plans are based on the political party that's kind of running the country. But Canada and our Liberal government right now has very, very lofty goals in terms of how many immigrants they want to admit as permanent residents. So because of that, they have continued to process overseas applications to the point of that PR visa request, right? To the point of issuing the confirmation of permanent residence. And some of you even have been issued them, and in some cases are unable to travel. Now, it also applies to not just economic immigrants, but the family class. And we know the lobbying groups that are out there, the people that have been affected horribly because of separation with their spouse. And with the restrictions in some countries, paper-based applications are the ones that have been hit the hardest, because the overseas offices were basically purged, and they had to close because of the local domestic laws in that country. And most consulates, you've got a bunch of people all crowded in working together. So for the safety of them, a lot of them were repatriated back to Canada. Overseas embassies were closed and everything ground to a halt. And one of the natural, the natural consequences of doing that is that if you need a visa in your passport to travel to Canada, that confirmation of permanent residence, even though your application was done, it was ready to go. If there's no one in the office to imprint that passport into your, that visa into your passport, then it doesn't matter how far along things are or how willing you are to travel. It doesn't go forward. So we'll see what the future holds. I know the government is looking at some creative ways to do things more electronically without the need for this, mailing in of your passport to do these final steps. So the government's looking at all kinds of things. And within the Canadian Bar Association, we recently provided them with just a ton of ideas and thoughts on how to basically meet these goals that they have. So back to the original question, what does the future hold for express entry candidates? Well, it largely depends on whether you are outside Canada or inside Canada. If you are outside Canada, you can expect lengthy delays. Do not anticipate that your application is going to be processed in 6 months. Do not anticipate that it will be processed in 9 months. In fact, do not anticipate it will be processed in a year. The reality is, until these travel restrictions are lifted, everything is going to be grinding to a halt through 2021 with outland express entry applicants. Okay? Now, with that being said, if we look to the cohort of people that are in Canada that are qualifying through the Canadian Experience class, not the Federal Skilled Worker Program, it's a little bit of a different story for you. If you meet the eligibility requirements, you're already in Canada, you're often already working, you folks are going to be protected and insulated from everything that's happening. And in fact, if you're in Canada right now, if you're completing your studies, if you have a postgrad work permit, you are now the primary focus of immigration. So the Canadian Experience class most undoubtedly is going to continue to expand. We've gone back, we've looked at the rounds of invitations, we've seen what's happening. I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to just see if I can open this up for you guys so that you can see this. And now I think it would be a little bit appropriate for us to go in and to take a look at the actual rounds of invitations, because this will help us to see the trends. Now, just because someone has an invitation to apply does not mean that they are actually going to immigrate to Canada. So take that into consideration. Okay, so I think we can see this okay. So this is the page, express entry rounds of invitations, and they've actually simplified this to make it a lot easier for us to review what's happened. The most recent draw, January the 21st. So we did not have a round of invitations this time. I think the government is trying to sort out what their intentions are, what they hope to accomplish, what their focus is. But the last draw, you can see right here, was a Canadian Experience class draw. And 454 was the total. Why? Because all of you Outlanders are not eligible to be drawn under this particular draw. And when we have an odd number here, right? 4,626 versus an even number, that usually means that everyone that has 454 is getting drawn. Not always, but that's usually what that means. So if we go to the previous rounds, and you can look here and you can see how people are queued up. But as of January the 18th, this was the distribution of people in the pool. And you can see from this period right here, 471 to 480, 461 to 470, and this is where you can do the math. We know that there were 4,626 people at 451, right halfway through here, and all the way up, that were all Canadian Experience class. All of these folks were purged out of the system. So if you have, and there's almost 23,000, let's say that of this here, this 451 to 500, this 23,000 people, let's just say that 3,000 of these people were pulled out in the most recent draw at 454. That's probably a little bit more lofty, but let's say, well, realistically, probably at least 3,000. And then if there are people that were up in the ranks a little bit higher, yes, as well. But what that means is you probably have about 20,000 people, at least in this range, 451 to 500, that are all sitting in the pool. And the only reason that this number here doesn't go any higher, this number, is because people can only sit in the pool for a year, right? Once you've hit a year, then you're going to be punted out of the pool and then have to decide if you're going to go back in. But with this breakdown, 451 to 500, like I said, if you go here to 461, 8,355. Well, we have almost gone, well, it's almost a month since the last draw. And so if we go the last, well, I shouldn't say that almost a month since the last draw, but it's been almost a month since these numbers here were posted. So when it comes to immigration, the dilemma that immigration has is that they're not going to be able to fill their quotas with federal skilled worker applicants because you guys are stuck outside because of the travel restrictions, which also leaves the immigration department at the mercy of the decisions as to who can travel and who can't. So what are they doing? They are looking internal, and they are focusing exclusively, and I shouldn't say exclusively. We'll get to some of the specific questions people have asked here in just a couple of minutes. But what they are looking at is quick ways to transition temporary residents to permanent residents to ensure that they're meeting their quotas. Maybe they're going to have negotiations with the provinces. I know I just spoke with one of the heads of the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program a couple weeks ago. Well, it was about a week and a half ago in preparation for my meeting with the immigration minister. And many of the provinces as well within the provincial nominee programs are looking inward. They are looking at extending notifications of interest or nominating people that are already in that province. So there's this big, massive push to take care of the people that are in Canada right now for the simple reason that those outside just can't travel. And so Alberta has had a draw, an express entry draw, and I think the last one they did was back in June. They just did one earlier this year, and there was about 50 to 60 people that were extended a notification of interest. Why? Because they're already living and working in Alberta. So many provinces are taking that position just because there's so many Canadians that are out of work, and there's this perception, I believe it's wrong, that somehow if you slow down the trickle of immigrants into the country, that therefore there will be greater opportunities for your Canadians. It's not that simple. But that is the world that we're in right now. So what I want to do now is I want to get to your questions, and these questions are going to help to drive everything that we're going to talk about in the balance of time that we have. So this is all about your questions. So get them queued up, keep them focused and laser sharp on the topic of today, which is the impact of the pandemic on express entry, what the future holds in terms of 2021. Keep them focused on that. If your question is more specific about how do I qualify, or something unique to you that doesn't apply to this, I'm going to skip past it. Wednesdays, 10 a.m. That's when you can ask those questions, or you can book a consult with the firm. All right. Now I want to share one other thing with all of you express entry people. And this is really, really important. There is going to be a belief and a feeling that if they're not allowing anyone into Canada because of the travel restrictions that have confirmations of permanent residence issued after March 18th, 2020, then what is the point of applying? What is the point of getting started? And there is a very, very simple answer to that. Notwithstanding everything that I've told you about Canada focusing inward on the people that are here inside Canada, the postgrads, the people that are currently working on work permits, notwithstanding that, if you are an Outland applicant considering express entry, do not just give up. Do not make a determination that you are just going to wait until the dust settles. Do not delay submitting your profile and getting into the queue. Just do not. And the reason is because you are going to get older. Your human capital is going to be affected. Your points every year, every birthday, once you hit 30, you're losing 5. And then once you hit 40, 41, you're losing 10 points. And right now it is so competitive, so competitive. You pretty much need to have a master's degree, have at least a CLB 9, which is an 8 in listening and a 7 in other abilities on the IELTS exam, the English test, or a 9, obviously, on the CELPIP test, and 3 years of skilled work experience to even get through the gate. And what I described right there is 469. And the only reason we even hit that level in the last rounds of invitations, and I'm actually going to flip back right here and we're going to look at them again. And we're going to go right back to the previous rounds. So it gives us the current one right here. And then we have these previous rounds. So let's take a look at those. The only reason why in these previous draws, the totals for, and we go all the way down here to the no program specified, that was December the 23rd. The only reason we dropped to 468 is because they did some massive draws of 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. And that is what pushed the totals down, because essentially more people were being drawn than new people were entering the pool. After December 23rd, the government has now shifted, you could see, through January at the beginning of this year to CEC only and the PNP classes. And the PNPs obviously are a smaller cohort. You can see there's only 250, 374. Because usually the PNP candidates are always pulled out through the no program specified. Why? Because their totals are so high because they have that extra 600 points. So understand that notwithstanding all of what I've said about doom and gloom for you Outlanders, you do not stop pursuing your dream. You do not. And the reason is because even if you were a person who had a confirmation of permanent residence issued before March 18th, 2020, and you're stuck in your country with an inability to travel, who now has an expired COPR, you have not lost your ability to come to Canada when all of this washes away and the travel restrictions are lifted. So your spot is locked in. So do not buy in. Any of you new people considering, do I consider applying or not? If you're hitting these levels, and if we look at these right now, you can see 468, 469. Because we've gone a whole month, I'll bet you any money if we were to do another round of invitations that it would be more closer to 472 or even up higher to 478 because of the length of time that has passed. And you'll see what happens when there's a delay in those rounds of invitations. So from October 14th to November the 5th, that period of time there was almost 3 weeks. It jumped from 471 to 478, and at the total 4,500, which is more closely aligned with what previous draws have been. So if we look at what's going to happen now, because the last open draw was December 23rd, and the length of time that's passed, if we were to have another round of invitations, I would have to expect that it would be in the high 470s, just like this. I have to assume that's what it would be. And you guys know what it takes to be able to actually reach this. And I'm just going to flip back to the website here. So you can see last no program specified was December the 23rd at 468. It was all of these 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. That's why it went down to 468. Unless they keep doing that, which I suspect they won't, it's going to be really hard to qualify if you are under 470 points. And maybe even 470 may not be enough. So it's super, super competitive, and it's only going to get more competitive if they decide, which I am almost positive is going to happen. We're going to see more CEC draws, and these scores right here, 454, are going to continue to drop. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here. I guess the last thing that I want to say for people that are in Canada now who have been languishing with totals of 430, 420, wondering if you're ever going to have an opportunity to immigrate, watch what's going to happen. What's going to happen is as they do more CEC draws, this total right here, 454, is going to keep going down. And you can see how fast it dropped. The first CEC, 461, the next one dropped to 454. If we have another one, it could drop to 450 or lower. Why? Because there isn't a ton of people, new people coming in. It's the people that are here that are in that lower range that are now going to be pulled out through the CEC. And so for the people outside of Canada, do not stop, because if those scores keep going up, you could just give up on your opportunity. You could lose your opportunity of immigrating. For the people that are in Canada that are thinking, oh, there's no hope for me, my scores are too low, keep that profile in. Give yourself a shot. Give yourself a chance, because even provinces like Alberta, and if we go to the rounds of invitations for Alberta, you'll see that the scores were fairly low, but they only issued a small number, 50 or so. And if your occupation is in the range and you've got a valid profile in there, it's possible that one of those provinces that are now looking inward are going to start to consider you. So the future is bright if you're in Canada right now, at least from the standpoint of possibilities. If you're outside of Canada, it's not as great in the immediate, situation that we're in right now. And there's always one more thing, it seems like, that I want to share. But understand, you can see what's happening if you are a postgrad student who was laid off, who wasn't able to work, that had a gap in their work. You've seen what they're doing for you, right? You can see it. This open work permit, this ability to extend your postgrad work permit for another 18 months is a direct confirmation that the immigration department is targeting and seeking after you. So I know you guys who are in Canada, it has been so hard because you often haven't been able to work. You don't have the resources available to you. You don't have the money and the possibility of maybe retaining someone to help you to make sure that you don't get it wrong. And we've had a lot of discussions about this in the past. Immigration is still cruel and ruthless. They still refuse applications if they're not done properly. And this may be your only shot. You've got an amnesty now of about 18 months where you can extend your work permit and you cannot take chances. But I know how funds are tight. And it's for that exact reason. And I'm gonna show you guys, because many of you don't understand what I'm doing here. I have actually created, along with my step-by-step course right here, and the link is right in the description. Click on it. Not only have I released the whole 50 plus lessons and tutorials and revamped course for 2021, not only have I revamped all of the information in that, we added all those tools, added all of those resources and those checklists and everything to make sure that you avoid the most common mistake. Not only have I done that, but I have added in, as a pilot, a little test, I've added in a private Facebook group for anyone who subscribes, where I go on at the beginning of the week, starting Monday at 9 a.m., answering all of these private members' questions every morning, 9 a.m., every weekday for the next 2 weeks. And you can see this runs from the 8th to the 19th. So in order to have an ability to get in, I created this in a way that you register for the course, you click on register and save a spot now. And then once you have gone in, and it's $347 US, but what you get with this is me. So people were, and I'll tell you why I did this, okay? The reason I did this is because people would purchase the course, and it's impossible to cover off everything, right? You're just gonna have questions that are not answered because it's unique to you. Your situation is specific to you. And so people would then book a consult, and to book a consultation with me, it costs $300 Canadian. All right. And people ask, why do you charge in US? It's because the program is hosted in the US. The software is US based, And that's why the dollars are in US. But regardless, I thought, there's all these international students, there's all these people that are in Canada right now that they've been decimated financially. Now, you don't have to show settlement funds if you're in Canada, which is a huge, huge benefit to you. And so, when cash is really, really tight, this is why I created this, so that every day I could jump on with a smaller group, because you guys can see what's going on. This is a live right now, right? This is a live. And when I start to get to the questions, and don't worry, we're not going to end at an hour. We're going to go for as long as you guys need for me to answer questions related to what we're talking about today. But people that are in Canada who have been hurting so much financially, that is why I created this, so that I could help people collectively. And you know why I do this, right? I told you back in the early days when all of the wonderful Filipino workers that were in Canada, before Express Entry was launched, all of these changes took place that basically just destroyed their chances of immigrating, because now it was super competitive with Express Entry. No longer were they just required to meet the eligibility to get into the pool, but before Express Entry was created, they would, if they met the eligibility, they could guarantee they were going to get immigration. But when Express Entry was added in, then it became competitive, and they weren't ready for it. They didn't know it was coming. I'd worked on some of the working groups that were providing feedback to the government on Express Entry back in 2014. And so I started to do consults with these people, and consult after consult, I would have to tell them that I couldn't help them. And it was horrible, because if they'd come and saw me just a year earlier, I could have helped them. So I said, I've got to find a way to amplify this message. So I wrote a blog post. I wrote 2 blog posts. They crashed my website. They went viral. What to do to get ready for Express Entry, what to do, the top things if you're considering applying. And that then led to the creation of the course, a way that people could get access to my knowledge, my experience in a way that they never could afford otherwise. And I make no bones about what I charge. And you can go to my website, you can see what we charge, which is actually, for what we do, it is commensurate with the vast majority of immigration lawyers across the country. In fact, we're probably on the lower end, but that's a separate discussion. People just right now can't afford it. So that's why I created this. That's why I created the masterclass, which I call a masterclass, but you guys don't get it. You don't understand what that means. That's why I created the step-by-step course with this added additional element, which is the private Facebook group right here. And you can see, this is, everybody becomes a family. Everybody's posting someone just came in, Thesura, awesome. I'm so excited to have you as a part of the group. We've got Julie here, Demeter, we've got all these individuals here that have subscribed and are going to be a part of this cohort. And I am so, so excited, because it's going to be like we're creating a little family. And now, instead of marketing the course as a separate a standalone product, now I am going to be there to help and to guide and to answer those more specific questions that we just can't touch here. So go in, subscribe. The first 100 people, once we hit 100, it's going to be locked out. But the whole goal is for me to be able to give you that little extra help and still keep the costs down, because when I teach you something that someone else has the same question, then I'm amplifying my ability to help people, versus every person booking individual consultations, which just about killed me off last year, as my wife can attest, doing 8, 9, 10 consults a day. It wasn't healthy, and it was starting to really affect me. So that's why I created it. Okay, there's the spiel. Now let's get to questions. This is going to be rough and tumble, but this is what I love the most about what I do, is getting in and helping all of you. And there are a ton of questions. If you're just tuning in, please do not be discouraged. I will absolutely make sure that I have gone through as many questions as I can, and I'll stay here as long as I need to, because this is all about you. So hang in there. But if your question is something that's very, very specific about you, that isn't about kind of the pandemic and the impact and what the future holds for Express Entry and you in 2021, I'm going to skip over those, okay? You can ask those next Wednesday. This is all about what the future holds. Outland, inland, what does the future look? This is where Canadian immigration lawyer Mark Holthe, right here, is going to be focusing his responses, okay? And so Monday at 9 a.m. is when the first class, the first live stream session in that private Facebook group goes live. And remember, you have access for life to all of this, all of it. All the videos are going to be in that group. All of the tutorials that are traditionally in there, you can go there. You can listen to the testimonials of people that have already purchased the actual course itself and use that without this added contact with me. So there you go. All right, let's see what we've got going here. We're going to jump in and start answering some questions. I may just pull this one up here just for a little bit of a shift here. Okay, so I'm going to go through. All right. What about the FSW rounds? This one was covered, Emil. So I think personally that there are going to be far fewer FSW rounds. I'm not saying that they won't do one, because I don't believe that. I think that they will do some FSW rounds, but we will definitely see a more heavy emphasis on CEC. Okay? And same thing for you, Lorenzo. Same thing about those FSW rounds. Get your profile into the pool. Do not hold off, because we do not know exactly when those rounds are going to happen. And if you're not in, you're not even giving yourself a chance. So it is worth it. And with the course that I've created, Module 1, which I'm actually going to see if I can make that one available for free, is all about preparing to get yourself in the pool. And it gives you real direct advice as to whether you should do it or not. Anyone that's in the range, absolutely. But the course in Module 1 and Module 2 were designed to help you avoid getting scammed by someone who's looking to steal your money, give you false hope, and say, oh yeah, you've got a chance. Just give me your money and I'll get you into the pool. And then you just sit there forever in the pool, knowing that you don't have a chance. Module 1 and 2 are designed to protect you so that if you do choose, I would hope you'd hire our firm, obviously. We work with people all over the world. But if you chose to hire someone, like a consultant, a regulated consultant in your home country, or another lawyer, that you are going to know as much as that person knows. And that's why I love the course, is because it gives you the tools, it empowers you, it educates you, so that in many cases, you know more than the agent who's trying to peddle you the services. And you can call BS when that agent is giving you fake hope and false promises just to get your money. That's why it was created. Okay, let's see here. CRS, we covered that. I'm predicting that when it comes to CEC, we're going to drop below 450. We could drop below 430. In fact, the lowest it has ever been is 413 points. That was back in, I think, 2018 that we got down to that level. And then they added points for siblings and French, and that's what bumped things up. But essentially, I think for Canadian experience class, it's going to drop down there. We could hit the lowest levels ever if they are focusing on CEC in Canada, which I think they absolutely have to. And I'll tell you something else. Those of you who think you have time in Canada too, one thing I want you to remember is that there are so many international students that were let in. Like, I don't know if we're upwards of 600,000-700,000. I don't know how many numbers we were at before the pandemic hit, but there are insufficient spaces if they were to try to transition all of you international students in. So some of you are not going to get in, and it's just the situation. You're going to time out. You're going to run out of time. So you need to move forward soon. Get your profile in as soon as you possibly can, and do everything you can to keep those language scores high, and then benefit from those Canadian education points, whether it's 15 or 30. And some of you, French, boy, there's a heavy emphasis on French. If you speak French, you're getting a bonus 50, 30 points. So take that into consideration. All right. Okay, Zetsi, good morning. All right. Okay, Trang says, hey, Mark, when will IRCC lift the ban on post-March 18th, 2020 COPR holders? This is not going to happen anytime soon. It's not. You need to prepare yourself, Trang, for the possibility that your COPR will expire. There is a pathway for people with COPRs that are expiring. Make sure that you submit an IRCC web form indicating that you are unable to travel and you do not want to lose your spot. So if you have a COPR that's getting ready to expire, you need to notify IRCC that you fully intend to travel and fully intend to come to Canada and to hold your spot. That is how you secure things. If you don't say anything, it expires and you don't notify them, then that is where you put yourself into a very dangerous position of them just saying, well, I guess Trang didn't want to come to Canada. And so then the canceled COPR, the expired COPR, is not going to be revived. So don't fall into that position. If you're unsure what to do, you can always book a consult with the firm. Okay. And as I flip over here to our website, just go to Holthe Immigration Law, book a consult. And then if you scroll down, I do want to point out, guys, that for the month of January, I was overwhelmed. And so the only way I could stop you guys from booking consults with me and encourage you to book them with Alicia and Susan, who are both exceptional lawyers. In fact, Alicia has been practicing longer than I have, and Susan is just, she's brilliant. She's wonderful. Was to increase my rates up to $420. But now I have dropped them down to where they're going to stay at $315 for that 25-minute consult. But anyone who's done the consults will know you're just going to get blown away by what you get out of it by the time you get through. And I'm not going to peddle that anymore. So there's the response Trang. Okay. There we go. So why is the CRS draw not common, Mark? What happened to 2021? So he's saying, why is there no open, the open category? Why, over the past few, if we go back here and we'll go back to these. Okay. So he's saying basically, why has there not been any draws in 2021 for no program specified? That is inclusive of the federal skilled worker programs. And as we've talked about already, the reason that that is like that is because of the travel restrictions. And they are now focusing on trying to get as many of the Canadian experience class people into the pool, into the EAPR process, because they can actually land them and they can become permanent residents and they can meet their levels planning with people in Canada. Outside, it's just not possible as long as the levels, as long as the travel restrictions are in place. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so and Keith, I'm not sure if it's necessarily good news for you, but it's news that you can trust. You can then govern yourself accordingly. You can plan accordingly. And I know that what I'm saying really sucks, right? Because you guys have been sitting, you've been so patient, especially people that have maybe quit your jobs. Maybe you have sold your homes. Maybe you were ready to leave, pulled kids out of school, whatever it might be. And to be stuck, my heart breaks for you. It really does. But hang in there. Know that if you're in, you're locked in. Follow what I've told you about notifying them if your COPRs are expiring, and then be patient. Be patient, because your dream of coming to Canada is still possible. Okay. All right. We'll zip through here. Haha, look at who's here. The Sura. Woohoo! This is awesome. The Sir is the most recent person that I just showed that joined the that's going to be part of the group on Monday, part of that family, that masterclass family, the first cohort. I'm super excited about that. So, and the Sir, it'll be great to get to know you. You guys know what I'm like. You know, I'm all about family. I'm all about just, yeah, being open, transparent about who I am, and the first thing I ask people when they come in to share some information about themselves, where they're from, you know, what stage they're at, and you know, whether you're ready to actually get into the pool or not. The time now is to take the course so that you can learn everything you need to know to prepare now, so that you're not wasting time or losing opportunities. So whether you are at the beginning of the express entry process and you're just figuring out how this works, whether you're someone who knows enough to kind of have your profile in the pool, but not sure if you're really maximizing your chance, or whether it's one of you guys out there who feels like you are truly the expert and you've already read everything and that I'm not going to teach anything. Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to learn something that's going to open your eyes. All right. Continuing down here. So great to see you, Thesura. Awesome. Salima, yes, there are. But I can tell you, I was shocked by how many people, you guys never make decisions in the long run. I was almost going to wrap it up and say, you know what? Maybe people just don't want to have direct access to me. Maybe they're happy to pay an extra $300 on top of the $347 to just have a private one-to-one, which is totally possible. But then yesterday hit, and then all of these people started piling in and purchasing, and actually seeing the value that's there. So absolutely, Salima, you can go in right now, click on the link, register, and it will prompt you to do, basically when you go to the Facebook page, we match your email address up with the email address that was used to register, and then we let you in. And if you, some of you go over there and say, hey, let me in, and hoping that I'm going to let you in, I'm not. It is a member only group. And if you subscribe to the Express Entry step-by-step course, the newly revamped one, completely overhauled, brand new 2021 version, on top of that, you're going to get access for 2 weeks. Every weekday, 9 a.m. in the morning is when I will be going on live to answer this specific, unique group of people's questions. And it's going to be awesome. So absolutely. Siddharth, thank you. Thank you for, that nice comment about my suit. Okay. Okay. Thank you. And may God Allah help you. Thank you. You know what? I need all the help I can get. I'll be honest. I need all the help I can get. Yep, Jari, no draws this week. Jason, all the way from Dublin. Awesome. Thank you. Anam is from Pakistan. Welcome, Anam. Yep, Rajpreet, no round of invitation this week. We'll see what happens on Wednesday. But you guys have seen, it doesn't necessarily have to happen on a Wednesday. Everybody just assumes that that's what it is. They can do a draw whenever they want. We could see one pop up on Monday. Who knows? Okay. All right. Here's a great question, Hatu. When is the coming draw? Any chance for CC with 453? I can tell you with the cheering behind me that without any doubt, it's going to drop below 453 for CECs. So get in there. Okay. Oh, Maximus says that the government in Nigeria has banned Bitcoin transactions yesterday. Oh, I'm so sorry, my friend. It was actually Igor who talked me into doing it. So I bought a few Bitcoin, actually bought some of the Ethereum, this other currency, and yeah, it went up. So so I've been making some money. Hey, great. Okay. Thesura says, hey, I subscribed to the Mascos. Can't wait till it starts on Monday. You bet. Give you another clap. Can't wait to see you in there, my friend. It'll be awesome. So excited. Okay. Hello, Jamel. Okay. Shahar says, hey, it's very nice to see you. We'll back this up just a little bit. Would you please talk about the chance of getting PR based on 877, CLB7 in French? It's actually really good. So obviously you're not saying whether you're in Canada or outside Canada. If you have that, now you also need to tell me. So you've got 8777 here, Shahar. And the reason I'm answering this, it's not one of these specific. I can get a general answer out of this, and I'll generally try to do it in a way that people will actually be able to understand. Your question here leaves out two essential elements of whether or not you're going to get drawn: your age and how many years of skilled work experience you have. So age, years of skilled work experience, and I guess I should probably also add in your education. And like I said, 469, it's like 29 years old, at least 2 or more degrees, potentially a master's, having 3 years of skilled work experience, and an 8777. All right? Ralph says, yes, it is cold. Yes, it is. Good morning, Ola. Good to see you. Okay, COVID, if anything, is good for increasing immigration numbers. Well, I guess if you're looking to get out of your country and come to Canada. Okay, here's a good question. So this is a member of the private Facebook, the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And if you're not in there, guys, get over there. Head on over there. That's another great place. And I'm going to start to get a lot more active in that group as we go forward, because the reality is I'm starting to realize that I'm the Express Entry lawyer. Like I'm not just an immigration lawyer, and I work with large global companies all over the world, but I am truly the Express Entry lawyer. That's what I've come to discover. And so I'm going to drive in. I'm going to spend more time in the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. But that's where this user is. That's where they are, and that's why they're kind of a generic. Says, if I apply for a study permit, even if I have Express Entry file. So question is there going to be a problem? What is the impact of having a profile submitted in the pool and then applying to come to study in Canada? Well, officers will look at that, because one of the critical natures of a study permit application is that you show temporary intent, that you intend to return back to your home country. And some officers in some countries look at the fact that you have a profile entered in as a negative factor, that, oh, if we grant this Facebook user here a study permit, maybe they won't go back. which I'll be honest, the whole concept is absurd. The concept of dual intent, being able to intend to immigrate to Canada at one future day and at the same time intend to abide completely by any temporary conditions, is built into the immigration legislation. And this is something that we talked about, well, I brought up and was discussed when I appeared before the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration, talking about the effect of COVID on immigration. This is one of the things we brought up, and it harms spouses more than anyone. When you have a spouse in Canada and you have a permanent resident application in the queue, the inability to get a visa to come and be with your spouse, especially in these horrible pandemic times, is heartbreaking. And that's what we're seeing. All right. Okay, Lucky, best program for business immigration. My goodness, there is not. There really isn't. Alberta is starting to roll out some PNP, and some of the other PNPs have entrepreneurial programs. When it comes to business, there's a lot of different strategies. I'm just meeting with another company that is going to set up an operation in Canada and going to do an intercompany transfer. The owner-operator stream, the owner-operator stream is basically dead. So the government has killed the ability for you to buy into a company, get a work permit under the foreign worker program. They've basically killed it, so they don't like it. Okay, we got another Facebook user over in the UK. Great to have you here. Hi, Ola. Yeah, Sa says minus 35 Alberta today. Take care. Yes, and back to what I was showing you guys before. This is what we've got going on here. But oh, you know what? I love my country. I absolutely love my country. Snow and all. This is what we've got. All right, let's keep trucking down here. Okay, processing times for people who are already in Canada, we're right about 9 months. CEC is right about 9 months. You bet. I'm doing good, Ola. Okay, we've got Kevin from Dubai. It is Surprise Live. Yes, it is. I did post it as I can now schedule these, which really makes me happy, so you guys know what's coming. Okay, and then we have here, Salma says, what's about the new programs for Francophone and Anglophone? The reality is these programs, like for express entry purposes, and it's hard to know exactly what you're talking about. For anyone that's Francophone, who's a French speaker as their primary language, open work permits are much more facilitated for companies who want to hire you. They just have to, all they have to do is go through and register the job offer. And if you're a French speaker, you can apply for a work permit without that employer having to show there's no Canadian. So from a work standpoint, if you're a French speaker, definitely go over here to our site and book a consult. And excuse me, I can go through all of it in detail, explain how the possibilities are or what they are for that process. Okay, let's go back here again and let's continue on. All right. Yes, it's 35. Oh, it is so cold. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, so yeah, so the Francophone, once again, this program tends, and within Express Entry, you've seen that there has been extra points added for people that with good French language and English together. So that might be what you're getting at there, Salma, for sure. People that speak French have a leg up now within the process. Okay, so this answer right here, it's a long one. It says basically, can grad students in biomedical engineering without work experience? Nope. Every one of the programs is driven by work experience. You have to get work experience. Okay, Montero, good to see you. Let's see who else we have here. Oh, this is a great question, Yash. This is a great question. Oh, I'm giving you one of these. Okay, I just had this question with my good friend Ronalie. She's got a client in exactly the situation. Maybe you're actually working with Ronalie. I'm not sure. She's based in Ottawa. Can you work remotely for a foreign company for 40 hours, excuse me, while being in Canada on a study permit? Okay, it's not quite the question I thought you were going to ask, but there's nothing stopping you from working remotely for a company outside of Canada while on a study permit. You are completely free to do that. No restrictions. If that company is in Canada and it could be seen that that company is actually employing you in Canada, then no, you are restricted to the 20 hours during your school term, and then you can work full-time outside of the regular class schedule. So, but the question was whether or not you could count those years of work experience. I think the answer is probably yes, whether or not you could then count those 40 hours working for that company outside of Canada towards the federal skilled worker program to be eligible to qualify earlier. And this is what we've raised with immigration to see what the answer is. So that's a great question, Yash. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Okay, this is a big one, but well, I think it's one that everybody probably would benefit from an answer. And I apologize how tiny this is. It's a big one. So Benazir says, hey, I'd like to know if we booked a consult in your firm and we both have determined that we're good to lodge an application and we'd like to formally hire your firm's full services, will the amount we pay during the initial consultation be deducted from the full amount of your EE or PNP packages? I'm going to give you one of these. And the answer is 100% yes. If the reason we do the consultations is to make sure we're a good fit. I'm not going to ask you to pay the $4,000 for our phenomenal collaborative review model and then charge you an extra amount on top of it. That's a change we made in January because our clients were asking for it. And it makes sense. Whether you pay me $300 for a consult, whether you pay Alicia or Susan $200 plus tax for a consult, that amount will be credited to the fee when you retain us. Absolutely. You invest in us, we recognize that. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, Kunal says, and we'll now enlarge this one back up. How are you? If we're applying for Express Entry again after rejection, can we include a new information and personal history if that wasn't included before? Yes, you can, Kunal. But this is one of the things that I talk about a ton in the course. Even in this is something I'm going to bring up in the live sessions, but I have a very, very, very strategic way of dealing with the letters of explanation, a very strategic way. In fact, this is one of the things that I give to every person that purchases the course. I give them my template and I tell them to use it because it lays things out so an officer completely understands, and it's as easy as possible for that officer to sift through what you're trying to tell them. It's not some big messed up jumble of words and making it hard for them to determine what's going on. And picture this, okay? Picture this, Kunal. You're trying to explain to that officer why your previous application was refused and that now you need to make a change in your personal history. Well, any officer is going to look at that and say, what? You put something in your personal history the first time and then now you're changing it? Well, which one is true? So you have to be very careful how you do it. And lots of people will, in your situation, Kunal, ring that bell. They will book a consult so that we can sort that out. But in the course, I give you a very systematic way of addressing that in a way that makes it as easy as possible for an officer. Now, I want to help you guys to understand something. This goes back to, hey, I can just do this on my own. It's no problem. It's easy to do versus I could use just a little bit of help to make sure I'm on the right track. That's where I step in. But picture this, okay? Picture an officer. We'll call her Tanya because I got one of my former employees, awesome lady, just a great person who works for the government now. So I'll pretend it's Tanya, okay? She, like you, is stuck in her home. We'll say she's got family. She has children that are having to study from home. She has a spouse that's working remotely from home. Everybody's at home in Canada. And she now has to cordon herself off into this small little room with her little itty bitty laptop, trying to flip back and forth between screens to process your application. And then you come up with this big, long, convoluted letter of explanation that is all over the map. And Tanya says to herself, oh my goodness, I am so tired of looking at these applications that are just so difficult for me to figure out what they're trying to tell me. And I can see Tanya, who feels the pressure, the frustration builds just to the point where she's like, to heck with this. You know what? It's not my job to hunt for this stuff. It's the applicant's job to satisfy me that they meet the requirements. And she either makes the decision that, well, I'm not satisfied and I'm going to refuse this, or I'm going to refer it for a secondary review. And then imagine Tanya, after going through this experience, so frustrated, gets an application that uses the system that I teach in my course that makes it as easy as possible for her to scroll through. And she opens it up, she looks at it, she's scrolling through. It's so easy to follow. And essentially at the end of that day, she says, wow, what a difference from the last applicant that I just did. This was so easy. I can meet my quota with this one, where the other one set me back because it took so long to process. That time constraints I have per application, I can meet this easily. I've actually made up time. This is the easiest approval that I've had all day. And picture that, you guys. That is what is happening with the officers now who are processing express entry. They're just like you, locked in their homes, doing the very best they can, that are human. And if you can make their job easier, you astronomically increase your chances of getting approved, especially when you're in a situation right here, like Kunal, where you have to make a change from an old one that was rejected to the new one. All right. Okay, let's keep zipping through here. All right. Okay, this is one right here. This is a good question, Yash. We don't have clarity on this. We do not have clarity. And I'm going to start to produce a lot more information directed to you guys, because you're the ones that are going to be really affected. So watch for this, Yash. And like I said, I recommend that you, just like everybody else, subscribe. But I can tell right now, by as I watch my feed, this is filling up so fast. And once those first 100 spots are full, then the cart will be closed, because I don't want to make it too big, because then I can't help people in the way that I want to. Now, the course standalone is freaking awesome, but this extra added value is just to kind of hit on those little spots that maybe you're a little fuzzy about. But in terms of clarity with international students, with 100% studies online, we just do not have clarity on this. We don't. And yeah, this is separate from info already available on the postgrad work permit. I understand that. But we do not have clarity, because at this stage, over like no more than half of your studies can be online. They haven't made a change with that. And this is where lots of people, I would tell them, look, seriously consider whether or not now is the time to study. But just like I said, for all of the Outland Federal Skilled Worker Program applicants, this may be the only time that you can get in. This may be, you have to get your foot in the door. You have to use whatever steps you can to give yourself the best chance of success. All right, good question, Yash. Okay. Marlon, you're very welcome, sharing information. I love to do that, my friend. Good morning to this Facebook user. Okay. All right. Quick one, Sama. This diverts a little bit. No, you can't sponsor your sibling if they are, like if you're adults. Callum, evening to you, Callum. Great to have you tuning in. Okay. James is in Goa. Welcome. Stay blessed yourself, my friend. Okay, and like I said, if you're asking questions that are specific about you, we're going to zip through so we can focus on the ones that directly are connected. Okay, let's see here. Marlon says, is there any discount for the new DIY guide for those people who purchased it before? Marlon, depends on what you purchased. If you only purchased a monthly access, then there's no discount. If you purchased, and anyone who's on here who purchased the old course, which is still totally valid, totally awesome. If you do want to shift over, then absolutely, I'm offering 30% off of that $347 price for you, Marlon. So send me an email, and we'll get you in and make sure that you're connected in for tomorrow, Monday, I guess it is, for Monday's live, so that you can go through and benefit from that as well in the new course. So absolutely, you guys who had faith in the original course when it was first created, who have made it so popular, absolutely, I'm going to award you and reward you, Marlon, with 30% off. Okay, I'll pass that code in. Just send me an email, and I guess the best way to do it is to send it to Mark, M-A-R-K, at CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. Okay. Yeah, Sayama, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no video for ways that you can apply to sponsor a sibling. Okay, let's see here. Yep, Seger, like I said, CEC draws are coming. Let's see what I've got here. Who else? Okay. Emil says, I understand that we can't travel, but even if they draw FSW people, they still need like 10 months for the PR to be processed. Yep. And I think personally, I'm telling my clients it's going to be over a year. So that's my view. Okay. Okay. Lampthe says, lucky me, I got 468 on the last FSW draw. Congratulations, my friend. Congratulations. And you, Lamthy, I'll tell you that you more than anyone else that is in this process right now cannot afford to miss something. Cannot. Now, I don't know if you've submitted your application yet, but my goodness, this is your shot. It may not come back down to 468 anytime soon. And so you need to consider yourself extremely fortunate and take the steps to make sure whether you purchase the course, whatever you do, understand that you will not likely get a second chance. So consider that carefully. Okay. Marina says, with the vaccine, isn't likely that travel restrictions might be lifted until the end of 2021. It's possible. It is entirely possible. You know, our government made decisions to not produce our own vaccine, and then you're at the mercy of other countries who have citizens all demanding it. And so that's one of the issues that we're having. And it is entirely possible that travel restrictions could, continue to be restricted until 2021. Now, with the institution, they've, the possibility of doing COVID hotels. Maybe they will open things up a little bit if everybody chooses that are coming to Canada. Everyone is quarantining for those set days in the designated COVID hotels, and we can really make sure that we're locking down the virus. Then maybe things will start to open up a little bit. But right now, yeah, I would hunker down. I would definitely hunker down. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Callum asks a good question. Will we see particular knock codes being processed as a priority, those vital to the pandemic control? At this stage, they have not isolated any particular knock codes for the purposes of express entry, those that are in the healthcare field. It's possible. One of the things that I brought up to them, especially the frontline workers in Canada and people that can and will have the ability to step in and offer those services, even if they're at a level C or D, those are some of the things that we've recommended, that the express entry, there be separate categories that target people in those lower levels that would not otherwise qualify because their work experience is not considered skilled. So we'll see how that plays out, but that is a suggestion that we've brought forward. Okay, Leda, as far as paper-based, I'm assuming you're probably talking about a spousal, could be an in-Canada PNP. If you're in Canada, I actually saw our paper-based applications through the provincial nominee program. I'm seeing those getting processed actually faster than the projected periods were before. So where they were projecting 18 to 20 months, 15 to 20 months, whatever it was, some of my provincial nominee paper-based applicants are getting theirs approved in a year or less. And so we're seeing that go up. But anyone that's outland, who is, whether you're sponsoring a spouse abroad, those types of applications, travel restrictions are holding everything back. They really are. Okay. Yeah, Sager, hang in there, my friend. I know you were expecting a draw. You lost 6 points coming down 459 to 453. Yes, I completely understand that. You hang in there, my friend, because I think the future, at least for Canada, the CEC draws are going to pull those totals down. So hang in there. I know you've been super, super patient, just waiting and hoping and dreaming, and yeah, hang in there. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's another one, okay? So this is the Facebook book. This is so common. This is so common, my friend. I'm supposed to have 1 year experience this month. However, it's interrupted because of the lockdown for the month of April. Can I still apply for CC? I'm on a post-grad work permit. You must meet the 1 year. So you must meet that 1 year. Now remember, your post-grad work permit, you may have to bide your time. You can benefit from that 18-month extension, but you need to meet the minimum year. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Cecilia says, kindly let me know if I study French, do I need to have a certificate to increase my point? Well, yes, you need to go through and actually, just like the IELTS and the CELPIP, the TEF, those French language official designated exams, you have to write and score the level that they're looking at. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, Rajpreet says, how about 440? Possibly. I think there's a very, very good chance, Rajpreet, that there could be a CEC draw for you. I honestly believe that. Okay, Marcel says, I received my COPR after March 18th, already expired and not living in the US. Would it help to get an office job in order to be able to come to Canada sooner? It doesn't really matter, my friend. If you've got your COPR, you just hang tight. And yeah, if there's a way that you can get a work permit to come, that's possible. But ultimately, your confirmation of permanent residence, I hope you notified IRCC that you are still ready and willing to travel when the possibility comes up. But yeah, as far as taking an office job, if it means a work permit to come sooner, I guess you could try. But ultimately, yeah, there's so much uncertainty, Okay. So there we go. Anam, we answered that one about when the draws will start. This person, I wish I could see you guys in the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. I just finished doing one of my collaborative reviews with someone that has been watching and involved with everything that I've been doing, I swear, for the last 3 or 4 years. And there's nothing more rewarding to me than knowing that those first early efforts that I did to produce content, to create the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, each of these steps to evolve into this today have helped people. And it's interesting because I really consider all of you, I guess you could call it graduates of the Canadian Immigration Institute, alumni. And it would be really fun to create some swag that was like, I'm a graduate of the Canadian Immigration Institute, or, I'm an alumni of the CII, right? So that would be cool. That would be pretty fun. Okay. All right, let's keep cruising down. Great to see you too, Syed. And Amjad, I think lots of people want to move to Canada. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we'll go back here to another question from Marcel. He says, for what you're doing here, you mentioned that Outlanders won't be able to come to Canada anytime soon. What is anytime soon meaning? 6 months, a year? Cheers, Marcel. This is an answer when it comes to pinpointing exactly that time. What you look for is when the travel restrictions are lifted. Because understand, those general travel restrictions are often, they're driven, they affect everybody across the board, regardless of immigration status. Individuals that are coming, they could be looking to visit, study, work, or become a permanent resident. They could be citizens, right? Permanent residents. Everybody is affected by these travel restrictions, and so watch them. Now, anytime soon, I would personally say at least 6 months. It's possible that it could be longer. But in my mind, we're looking at the situation now, seeing how the virus is these variants that are coming up, the locking down, the further tightening, that's even worse now than it was in March when the lockdown first happened. All of those things are impacting us in ways that we never predicted. And personally, I don't think before June, I don't think, anything that's going to happen for sure, at least then, probably longer. Okay. Okay, Nazar, what's the minimum score for CEC? Like I said, I already talked about that. It could drop down to its lowest levels. It could go down below 413. It just depends. Yeah, and this same thing, these are all good questions because this is all right in square in with what we're talking about today. Watch the travel restrictions, but based on everything that I see, all the discussions that I have, the meetings, the high level Zoom meetings, team meetings that I have with head immigration officials, this is what we're seeing, is that things are not going to get better anytime soon. Okay, Kalma B from Philippines, welcome. Yep, I do think that CEC draws will continue, absolutely. Yeah, see, thanks so much for your info. By the way, you look smart today. Well, see, that's what you got to do. When you don't have the substance, you have to go for the form. Hopefully I have some substance to share with you guys. Okay, let's keep going through here. And remember, if you're asking specific questions, I'm going to zip through because those ones are really, if they're general but kind of specific, are targeted for drop in next Wednesday and at 10 o'clock. And you'll see I'm going to do my live in the group and then the Q&A at 10 o'clock right after. Okay. Yeah, ban FSW inside Canada. Sure. If you've got foreign work experience and you otherwise meet the requirements, you can be inside Canada and still qualify. Ralph, that's awesome. Thanks, my friend. Join the masterclass is good. And just so you guys understand, a masterclass is really a class that dives in deeper than just a regular course that you purchase that's self-guided. A masterclass is when you pull people in who use the course, have a basic understanding, and then you dive deeper, way more specific. And I am all about teaching. I'm not a representative that just gives you the bare minimum information and then hoards the knowledge to myself and then gives the impression that, oh, I'm smarter than you. Don't ask me questions. I will just take care of it. Just give me the information and I'll submit it. Not me. That is not me. I am a person who says, I'm going to teach you everything that I know so that you understand the process as well as I do. And then together, you and I, we won't miss anything. That's my strategy. That's the approach of Holthe Immigration Law, a collaborative review model where we educate you. Okay. Keep zipping through here. Go to some more. Yeah, so this is a person who's stuck. So Darsh, yeah, you've indicated that you've got your ITA, submitted your application October, shows April 25th. How much delay can I expect? And if I get COPR, then also am I restricted to travel? The answer to all of this is probably yes, yes, yes. You're going to be restricted until they lift the restrictions, even with a valid COPR. Okay, no draw. Hey, they've got plans. We'll see what happens, Rajpreet. Maybe there will be on Wednesday, but we've had, excuse me, we've had lots of situations where they have not issued draws on a very strategic 2-week, rotational period. So it's not unusual at all. Yeah. So Salima, the course is not a PNP based course. So the process of going through the provincial nominees, all of them, there are so many different programs and so few people that actually go through them that it doesn't justify for me to create a DIY course and put in the hundreds of hours that I did for express entry. It just doesn't make sense. That's where individuals retain the firm, and we do the collaborative review model for all of them, including the province of Alberta. Okay. This is a good question, Marcel. So in terms of this, it says, during your meetings with IRCC, did they mention their plan to fill the gap of professional workers? Now, that's a pretty broad term, Marcel. What does that mean, professional workers? Is that just skill level A? Is that what you're referring to? They won't be able to do that only with inland immigrants if they won't let in outsiders anymore. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any gaps. Yeah, so understand, Marcel, they absolutely will fill all of the ranks with people that they can land as soon as possible to meet their quotas. So they will turn inland, they will open it up, they will fill the coffers with all kinds of skilled workers, maybe not professionals, maybe skill level B, but those who are outside of Canada are still going to be admitted once the travel restrictions lift, that are in the pool, that have received an ITA, that have submitted the APR, that are stuck in this limbo land. You will still land. The reality is, once the travel restrictions are lifted, heck, I should purchase a bed and breakfast or what do you call it? Just some rental accommodations, because when they open things up, there's going to be such a massive influx of people coming in. There's not going to be enough places to house them. So that's what's going to happen. Great question, Salima. Yep, absolutely. Every single one of those 9 a.m. The lives that I'll do in the private group. And like I said before, we go back here. When I go live in this group right here, when I do that, it is all of this, everything in here will be available like any private Facebook group. When you go in, you will have access to this for life. Now, after about 2 months, I'm going to close off comments because I find that people just stop, kind of utilizing it in that way. But if people feel like they want to keep going and that I see that there's still comments happening, then I won't close off the comments. So understand that in here, all of the lives, just like this one that I did, welcoming people to the group, are going to be there for life. And so you will always have access to this. You will always have access to the course itself and the materials. Great question, Salima. Okay, let's see what we have next here. Let's see here. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's see here. just fixing a few things on my screen here. I've been, when I'm doing this, I've got, oh, that's interesting. That's the first time that's happened. I've got my, I've got my screen that I can see here when I'm doing the lives, and now it looks like it has a mind of its own. It just kind of decided to jump around on me. Okay, so back to the questions, and this is really frustrating because I can't move it. Oh, I don't want to do that. Edit, do that. Okay, I'm going to go back to here because I've got some issues with the with my screen. Okay, so okay, so 9 a.m. Okay, yeah. So Jason says here, and this is actually something else. It's amazing. Oh, there we go. Hey, I'm back. So basically, I was moving my screen around, and then I lost my ability to see what you guys see. And without being able to see the actual screen with me flipping back and forth, it makes it extremely difficult to pull comments on. But I fixed it, fortunately. All right, so let's get back to Jason's comment here. He says, it would be great to just have peace of mind. My GCMS notes say approved, so I'm hoping that's good news. Yeah, I know, Jason. Like the reality is we'd love for this just to all wash away and for everybody to be able to travel. But I think you also need to be realistic and understand, as long as the travel restrictions are in place, if you're outside of Canada, that there's going to be delays. Okay. Okay. And remember, if you're asking specific questions, I'm going to be skipping past you. Okay. All right. Gurjeet says, is it mandatory to mention our latest employment in the profile if we have already completed? No, it's not. Not in the profile. You can only include, you only need to include the work history that you're going to claim points for. Okay, here's a tough one. So Josh says, is him and his wife have been, they're at 468. They've been in the pool since October last year. What are their odds of us getting through by August, September? I think personally, I think it's going to be low. I think we'll have to see how this, how this all plays out. But I think 468 for Outland applicants, I think the chances before August, September are pretty low. Okay. Work permit success just depends on far too many factors than I can actually address here. Okay, do you think they'll ask for fresh information? Probably not that stuff. I guess they could ask for proof of settlement funds, but it would be pretty harsh to do that. Generally speaking, police certificates and medicals could be requested. Okay. Yep. CEC will continue until March. You bet. Let's keep going down here. When do you think the large 5,000 person draws will resume again? I didn't anticipate those draws happening in the first place. It's entirely possible. Anything can happen. All right. And yes, they will continue till March. Yes. Okay. Very straightforward question. What minimum score do you, and this is Nazar, what minimum score do you believe we will have in the future? CC applicants only. Minimum, like I said, we could see all-time lows. It's possible. Let's go back to the website. Let's take a peek once again at the ministerial instructions. And I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit here so we can fit more on the page. Okay. So what I want to look at here, I want to go back and I want to go to the main screen here and look at the candidates in the pool. So if you look at how many people are sitting in there from 401 to 450 right here. And if we go down, you can see how many thousands of people are still in there. If they were to do only CEC draws, and understand more CEC candidates have come in after January the 18th, and we know that 4,626 of them were pulled out of the pool all the way down to 454. So there could be more that have come in after the fact. But if we look at this and we see this level right here, there are 10,000 people. A lot of these are going to be federal skilled worker. They're not all CEC. And if we go down to the 431, we can see that there's 10,840. And if we go all the way down, 7,000 in that cohort, 7,000 here, all the way down to 400, there's 9,000. Now, if they don't do any more Outland draws and there's only CEC candidates and they're only nominating people through CEC, it's entirely possible that it goes down as low as this, below 420. Like I said, the lowest score was 413. It's possible that it could go down that low Because understand, all of these are a mixture of both federal skilled worker, it's everybody. And the only CEC candidates, in this group and cohort is going to be far less than that. So although there may be 46,000 that are from 401 to 450, the reality is when you add up all of these totals, there's going to be a much smaller percentage of them that are CEC. So it's possible. It's entirely possible. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. All right, let's keep zipping through here. Got lots of questions today. And those of you who are hanging around, I really appreciate you. We're going to get to the questions. If you're patient and you wait, absolutely. I'll do my very, very best to try to answer everybody's question and get to the very bottom. That's what's going to be interesting. All right, cruising down here. Let's see. 478 FSW, very high. I think you've got a good chance of getting that. Thank you, says I look smart. Bilingual candidates, even if your scores are less, you need to hit those levels, right? You guys can go and you can see just as well as me. So if I go to this, I'll just switch over here so you can see the website. If we go to the CRS criteria and then we pull it up and then we scroll down here, you can see, and I'll close this. We scroll down to the very bottom. You can see the French language is right at the bottom, the bonus points. Aside from the points you get as a second language itself, I'm going to go right down to the very bottom to the additional points. And this is where you can see you have to score an NCLC 7 or higher on all 4 language abilities, not averaged, and at least a 4 or lower in English, or you didn't take the test at all. If it's just French, you get the 25. If you have both the NCLC 7 and at least a CLB 5 in English, you get 50 points. So that's how it works. Okay, cruising on. Let's see what's next here. Okay, Sanjay says, hey, from Dubai, do you provide legal advice for mature students age 34 to Indian nationality? Of course, I provide legal advice to everybody. So don't hesitate to reach out and connect in. Okay, Rashmi says, also, when will Alberta Express Entry open PNP for foreigners? Currently, it seems it is only for people living in Canada. Yes. I had that discussion with the second in command, or one of the head officials of the AINP just a little over 2 weeks ago. And they're only looking at in Canada, like in Alberta applicants. That's why the last notification of interest was so low. So Rashmi, once things lift, once the pandemic lifts, then I know Alberta will start to look outward. But right now they're not. Okay. Yeah, Darsh, travel restrictions do. Unless your confirmation of permanent residence was issued before March 18th, which it won't be anyone these days, the travel restrictions are not open unless you're from the US. Unless you're coming from the US, you are restricted. And when is it going to get lifted? Same question that everybody asks. We have to watch the travel restrictions, watch what the orders in council say. But I personally don't think anything's going to happen for at least 6 months, probably even further into the year. Ilam, this is a good question. I'm going to give you a little applause here. If you're paid and you meet all the other requirements, you can absolutely claim that work experience. And just so that you guys know, one other thing I'm doing, those of you who are on the YouTube channel, you will see that I have now made a shift. And that shift, if I open this up and then I'm going to go to the website, go to my own channel here. Okay, you will see there's our live going on right now, but the previous videos that I've done, I'm now starting to do more very specific targeted answers that are short. So can I claim work experience while I was studying? That's what this second one that I just released right here is all about. And that pretty much answers your question. And you guys watch, because I'm going to go on a tear here and I'm going to be producing tons of short, easy to consume videos that answer specific questions versus the long 1 hour long Q&As that I've done. Now, I'll still continue to do Q&As, but these little specific targeted videos are there to help people really get the information that they need. Okay. Okay. I don't even know if I want to post this. I'll be honest. Let's see here. Okay. Get my mouse working again. All right. So let's keep scrolling here. Okay, yep. CEC draws are on their way. how I put my parents' name in Express Entry. You can't sponsor your parents, but in the family the family information section, that's where you list your parents, but they can't be included as dependents on your Express Entry application. Okay, Rajpreet, draw should be after 2 weeks. It's not always that way, Rajpreet. It's not. Even if they went CEC, why there was no draw on 4th of February? Because we've had periods where they've gone almost a month with no draws. There is no set standard, even though people like to tell you that. Yep, we've already said that's a good score. So true. I'm a procrastinator extraordinaire. Okay. Do I get PPR in the same VAC where I had biometrics? Often that's what happens. Okay. All right. Carolina says, hey, I'm so happy that I got an ITA in the last draw. My only concern is that I have friends waiting for their PR for more than 9 months without any updates. Is that bad news? Well, it's disappointing news that you're waiting, right? But we know why. So Carolina, you've got to purchase the course and get in and be a part of this cohort of people that this first 100 people, to make sure that you are not missing out on anything when you submit your application. But your friends that have their applications sitting and they've been waiting, it's totally expected, totally understandable. And the delays are not good. It's disappointing, but they are in. They have an opportunity. And when the travel restrictions lift, that opportunity of PR will still be there for them. All right. Provided they did things right in their application and they don't get it bounced. That would be sad. Yeah, that would be a good question. Any way to rush the confirmation portal, electronic COPR. So basically what this Facebook user is talking about is, like I addressed in the very beginning, this look and this studying and consideration of how to do the landing process without actually requiring people to send in their passports, right? That's what we're looking at. So you can call it the eCOPR, electronic confirmation of permanent residence. But as far as rushing, in my meetings, that I've had with the government, we know that they're working on a new system. You guys have seen how volatile the portal is. It's awful some days trying to get in and get your information in, it timing out, it falling apart. So, with all of that, for sure, we know that, the confirmation, wow, it would be great if it was happening tomorrow, but it's going to take a long time. All right. Okay. And those of you who have tuned in just recently, I want to remind everybody as I go over here to the website, this right here, I'm going to backtrack one step. In the link below is where you can join and be a part of the Express Entry step-by-step course. So this is literally the quickest and easiest way to filing your own Express Entry application. And that link will take you right here where you can go and you can register. If you go down, there's a lot of information about it. Not only do you have access to the course materials, that's what you've always had, and it's always been available, but you get access directly to me in this private Facebook group that is devoted exclusively and it starts Monday, and it's hilarious. You guys don't, it's hilarious. I've got so many people that are queued up now to get into the group. I was ready to just drop it because I thought to myself, what's the point? If people are not they don't want to have access to me, then what's the point of running I call it a master class, but what's the point of actually doing this? And apparently you guys make decisions at the last moment. And so now there's just been this massive groundswell of people that have been piling in. So it's absolutely going to be awesome. And every day at 9 a.m. in the morning, you can see 11 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. IST. I tried to find a time that would work really well. There's a live Q&A just like this, where it's focused directly on the people that are in this family, and you truly become a family. And so get in. And this number is not reflective. Please do not assume that there are only 20 members, because it is a lot more than that. And if you want to get in, it's just about full. It's filling up really fast. So anyways, go here and you get access to me. And if you want to see what the course is generally, just check out these testimonials from some of the recent people that have used it. And in the past, those that have used the course, which has just been enhanced and added to and improved. But once we have the first 100 people, then it's going to close. All right. So go there. The description is in, is right below the link is in the description. Okay. Let's get back, because I told you guys, this is all about you. This is all about answering questions. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Okay, here's a good question. I get this a lot from a lot of my Indian clients. Okay, thank you for all that you do. You're very welcome. What if your last name was different? Father's first name in the previous passport than the current passport. Father's last name or family name, is it LOE enough? That's what you do, right? That's where I give specific instructions in the course on how to structure your LOE so that it makes it as easy as possible for that officer to understand what you're saying, and then to check it off and say, approved. All right. Yes, 6 months since I submitted my documents after receiving the ITA. Now, I guess the question is, I'm not sure exactly where you're at, Raul. Do you mean like submitting your EAPR? It's been 6 months and you're just in the queue? That's normal, very normal. Yep, ban, like we said before, inside Canada is possible if you meet the, otherwise meet the requirements. Okay, let's see here. Okay, do you think with 442 CC score, my girlfriend will pass? She's so stressed. It's possible. It is entirely possible with the direction that we see things going. Okay. Okay, Levo says, my IC work permit is about to expire on February the 27th. I do have a job offer for a job. What options do I have to get status? I'm going to ring that one, Levo. Get over here, go to our website, book a consultation, and we can go through that in detail. Definitely more than we can address here in our little live right now. Okay. Okay, understand. Yes, they've slowed down processing a lot of applications. They're just different rules if you're residing in the US. The key is that you're not traveling for an optional or discretionary purpose, but when it comes to the issuance of these, yeah, they have ground to a halt, issuing a lot of overseas, but some people are still getting them through. Yep. Questions. Why this week's draw did not happen? Because it doesn't always happen exactly on the schedule that we all think. Let's see here. Is it necessary to have a university degree or training to be eligible to practice in a certain occupation? Knock. No. The reality is, if you're talking about actually working in Canada, then if there are, requirements for that organization, if it's a regulated occupation, then you have to meet those regulatory requirements to practice, like as an engineer, signing off on things, as a nurse, even as a welder, there's trade certification obligations in certain provinces. So that's what drives the ship. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, Carlos, you're in the situation the same as a lot of other people. No draw. Everybody's hoping, they're waiting. Remember, guys, come in, join the course. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Okay, let's see here. You guys are asking a lot of very specific questions. That's why I'm scrolling through them. And remember, we're going live here on Periscope. We're going live on Facebook in the group and in the private Facebook group, on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page, and on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube. So that's why there's lots of questions. If you're wondering, hey, how come he hasn't gotten to mine yet? It's because I'm looking through a whole bunch of different streams at the same time. Okay, let's see here. AOR, June 14th. It's still processing CEC. Abhishek, hang in there. Hang in there. We're looking at about 9 months in Canada. Okay. 469 FSW is still waiting. What shall I do? Wait. Continue waiting. Okay, Carolina, if your medical's expired, they'll just ask you to go do new ones often. In Canada, they're tending to waive the need for a new medical, but outside, realistically, they're probably going to be requesting that you obtain a new medical, even possibly new police certificates. Okay, do you think Alberta will start the ANP again? They actually have. They're issuing notifications of interest, but only for people that are in Canada right now. Processing times for inside Canada. I can't tell if it's CEC or FSW, Syed. I'm on my postgrad work permit. Right now, processing is about 9 months for in Canada. Okay, this one, Karan, I'm going to ring the bell, book a consult, and I can tell you which way to go. Ultimately, if you are getting an ITA, I don't care what route you're at. You know, if you're you're outside Canada, okay. Shall I wait? So 469, no, you absolutely want to get in. You want to get in. And as I indicated at the beginning, when I was talking about what the future holds, you guys have to realize that you're going to get a year older. And what if there's delays? What if it becomes more competitive? If you have an ability to get in and technically 469 is still in the range, do it. Absolutely do it. Subscribe to the course. Join us in this masterclass family over the next 2 weeks, and we can clarify a lot of other things as well. Trang, you're very welcome. You can see how many comments we have, right? So how long ago was it that I answered Trang's question? Is it important to work with the employer after we get invitation in express entry? It's when you submit your EAPR. Well, your ITA is locked in at the time in which you get it. So you don't have to keep working with them unless there's job offer points associated with it. Okay, do you think the travel restrictions, Maxim says, do you think the travel restrictions have a negative impact on Ontario Human Capital Priority Stream? Yes, absolutely they will. I honestly believe they will, just like the other ones. And even the Human Capital Priority Stream tends to be very, very occupation specific. There's just, there's a lot of demand, and Ontario has no shortage of temporary residents who are in that province looking to transition to PR. So next FSW draw, there is the crystal ball, Simon. That is the question of all questions. It wouldn't surprise me if we went a couple months at least of just CECs. It would not surprise me at all. 468, get in there, Alpa. You got nothing to lose. You saw the last draw was 468, and yes, it only resulted because there were like 4,000 or 5,000 cohort drives at a time, but you have nothing to lose. Get in there. Maybe you are in an occupation that would trigger a notification of interest from the Human Capital Priority Stream for the province of Ontario. That's possible. Karen, what documents do we need for an employer after we get the invitation and express entry? That is exactly what we cover in the course. And I even give you tools, checklists to give your employer to know that your letter that you're getting from them, the reference letter, is exactly what's required. But from an immigration standpoint, they want a reference letter and pay stubs if they're available. But I go far deeper than that in the course. Okay. Please let us know your thoughts on Destination Canada 2021. Well, I guess we'll find out. That there is a video all in and of itself that I could do. So I'm not going to dive into it, Rashmi, but that would be fun. That would be fun. We're gonna definitely touch on that. Let's see. Cruising down. You guys, I'll be honest. I thought I was going to be able to get through this, but we're already at just about 11:52. We're closing in on 2 hours. And so I'm going to let you know now that at 2 hours, we're going to have to shut it down because my wife has a list of things that I have to do today on Saturday because I've been working like crazy, late, midnight, 1 a.m., I don't know how many days in a row. And I promised her that I would fix this broken piece on our stairs going downstairs. I was going to hang up a little rack in our laundry room. And there's some snow, like I said before, outside right here that needs shoveling. So this is forewarning that despite my best efforts, and I don't think you guys can really fault me, but despite my best efforts, I thought I would be able to get through everybody's question, but there's been so many new people that have been piling in that I just haven't had a chance to get to it. All right. Okay. And once again, guys, those that are tuning in, the cart is just about closed. To get involved in the Express Entry step-by-step course, join me on Monday in this private masterclass where for over the next 2 weeks, February the 8th to the 19th, each morning at 9 a.m., I'm going to be joining people, answering their questions in a very targeted member-only Facebook group. All right, jumping back here, let's keep trucking down the questions. Let's see here. And like I said, if you've got very specific questions, I'm going to zip past you because Wednesday we'll cover a little bit more specific stuff. Okay, Mamie says, can you go back after uploading your profile to update the new accomplishments like new certificate? Absolutely. Great question. And I can give you one of those. Yeah, absolutely you can. You can go back. Make sure when you make changes that you formally resubmit your profile again, and then it will lock those changes in. Okay. Oh, this one makes me sad. This one makes me sad. Okay, Yvonne, let's see. Anytime someone says misled, I picture crooked agents, and although the consultants hate when I say it, I don't care. There are an unbelievable amount of crooked consultants, and the lawyers that are crooked, they get disbarred. So don't complain to me about lawyers and our ability to police ourselves. Yes, there are imperfect lawyers and there are imperfect consultants, but misled into creating an AINP AOS 6 months ago instead of working on increasing my CRS score. Now it is 482 CEC. I'm on the pool. Should I now cancel or withdraw that previous application? No. Yvonne, do not ever cancel. Join the group. Get into the group. You can do this yourself. You don't have to rely on someone to mislead you. Filing the AINP is not, it's not necessarily a bad thing, although your work experience, if there's volatility in your work and your ability to establish in Alberta, that can be an issue. But don't cancel. Just do them both at the same time. There's nothing stopping you from having 2 applications in the queue at the same time. Ultimately, one of them, they'll ask a question and they'll want to know which one you're ultimately going to choose. Like if you have an OINP notification of interest and then you get an ITA before you get the nomination from the OINP will come back and they will tell you, hey, we noticed that your profile is locked. Did you still want to proceed? Because if you've got an ITA, we're not going to waste one of our notifications of interest on someone who already has an ITA. So yeah, Yvonne, seriously consider joining the group, subscribing and joining us in our new masterclass family next week. And we can get you set up so that you can do it on your own. Okay. Okay, does the job title matter if it is not listed under a NOC code, but the duties match that NOC code? Yeah, we're not too concerned about titles. If you say, and Sammy, if you say that you are an astrophysicist and your duties are more equivalent to a food service supervisor at McDonald's, then they're probably going to wonder what the heck's going on. But generally, title doesn't make too much of an issue. Yash, you're welcome. You rock, my friend. Oh, didn't you get an invitation on December the 23rd? I'll answer that one, Syed. No, because not everybody that had 468 were drawn. And that's where the cutoff is. And I'll take just a second to show you guys what I mean by that. So if you have in the rounds of invitations here, and we'll go back one right here, you'll see that there is a tie-breaking rule. And so what that means is, and let's just go back actually to the question that was asked. So the December the 23rd was the invitation to apply. So let's take a peek here and I'll show you, Syed, why you may not have got it. So if we go back to the previous rounds and then we go down to December, okay, January, December 23rd, 468, open that up right here. You'll see that they took 5,000 even. That means that at some point in 468, where they got the 5,000th person, they stopped issuing ITAs to the other ones. And the tie-breaking rule was June 4th, 2020 at 1:39 p.m. There you go. That's the answer. See, look at that. Guys, I don't just sit here just throwing out answers. I actually give you a link back to where the source of that information is. All right. That's the difference between me and some of these other YouTubers, I guess. Rashmi, that's a great question. So if you have a study permit, you already have it, and you're in Canada, then there's never an issue. The only time this becomes an issue is if you have a profile in the pool and you are applying to come for the first time. If you're in Canada, you're working, you're studying, no problem at all. No restrictions whatsoever, no harm whatsoever. It's only if you're applying for your first study permit, or in some cases, I guess your first work permit. Okay. Zainab, as far as applying for the student visa due to COVID delays, Some of the schools are being granted an ability to have students come because they've got good plans in place to have them settle. So if you've got an option, go ahead, pursue it. Don't wait. It's not, I wouldn't wait. If you have an option and you have an opportunity, then pursue it. Miriam, I can tell you that if you've already submitted your profile, it's already formed a part of your immigration record. It specifically states that in the attestation section that all of you guys skip before you finalize and submit your profile. Same thing for your EAPR. With every one of my clients, I go through and explain all of that information in the attestation part right at the end when you're submitting your application, where it says we share information with everyone. This forms a part of your immigration history. So withdrawing your profile in and of itself doesn't remove the record that you've made the attempt. But in essence, by withdrawing your profile, you are sending an indication that, well, maybe I'm not interested anymore. I just want to come temporarily. So if I had an option, withdrawing versus leaving it in, if you don't have any chance of getting an ITA because your scores are too low, and there's no harm in withdrawing that profile and then losing an opportunity, I would pull it. I would. Okay. This is kind of an open one, Zainab. As far as parents applying, so once the son or daughter gets a student visa, they can always apply to come travel and visit. Ultimately, it just depends on a whole host of factors whether or not they're actually going to approve it. Okay, I don't know what this is, but anyone who mentions agent, why, I guess is the question. Only send an email to the agent or to apply for a visitor visa. This one is one of these. I recommend you book a consult. Okay, and we've already talked about this one, confirm about FSWP draws. I don't think we're going to see one for a few months, at least. Yeah, Callum, he's asking about if you've got a vaccine, are you going to be able to travel? Like, the crazy stuff with the variant and everything that's over in your neck of the woods. We just don't know exactly. Like with the, if they start to use this COVID hotel, well, and everybody that comes in has to quarantine, maybe that will help to lift some of the restrictions if everybody is forced to do it, right? Maybe they'll choose to open it up a little bit that way. If everybody comes in, is willing to pay the dollars and to actually COVID hotel it, if that's the direction they go, maybe that will cause things to change. Okay. Good question, Manar. Will Canada be able to get even near to the target of this year in terms of PR? I don't think so. I really don't. It's going to be really hard. And the only way they're going to do it is through some massive CEC draws of large cohorts of people and then pumping them all through and converting them to PR while they're in Canada. Okay. Let's see here. Yep, there's the answer, Joshua. I just explained it. He just missed it, Syed, because of the tiebreaker rule. Okay, Simrit says, is RCC processing specific closed work permits from outside Canada? Yep. In some cases, if there's availability to get biometrics and to, they are issuing work permits. Yes. Okay, Omniscient here. Hi, I have my own business after my graduation. Absolutely, my friend. The AINP has opened that up. And the last I talked to them, they don't have anyone who's expressed an interest. So if you want to go down that path, you bet, my friend. Jump on over here. I would be delighted to help you go through one of those new programs that are specifically targeted for you. And yeah, so just go over here, book the consult, select me, and we can do it. As you can see, I'm trying to get through. This is why I created that new group. This is why I did this, you guys. This is why I created the master class, this express entry step-by-step course that includes this group. It's because you can see I physically cannot get through everybody. And the only way I can kind of prioritize is exactly going through this path. All right, we are at 2 hours. I think I need to wrap it up now. I haven't looked to see what the numbers are. But yeah, I look forward to having you guys join me. I'm going to have to shut this down. I can hear movement on the other side of that door. And it's my wife. And she wants me to close this live stream and get over there and help her. So family first, number one. and clients and all of you wonderful people are a close second. All right. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a part of this. This was so much fun. I hope those of you who jumped on late, you missed all of my explanation about what the future holds in Canada, all of the detailed explanation that I gave on why I feel that Canada's really going to be focusing on people inside Canada, why you need to act now. I explained why I created my the step-by-step course that's basically amped up, because starting Monday at 9 a.m. every morning during the week, over the next 2 weeks, I will do a live targeted specifically to you to give you all that extra value. And then you all have access to the brand new 2021 Express Entry step-by-step course designed to help you do it on your own with a little help from myself, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer. We're here in any way that you need, but subscribe quick, because once it's full, then the cart's going to close. And as you see, if you go to the site and it looks like someone just purchased it again. Let's just go back here. As you go to the, as you go to here, you will see, if you go to Mark Services, actually, no, I want the DIY courses is what I want. If you go to the DIY courses here, you'll see that the Express Entry step-by-step course is not, you can't just purchase it as a standalone offering. I've actually confined it to this course model so that I can be there to guide and help people. And once the first 100 people are in, then it comes to an end. And you can see we've got 1 day, 12 hours left to register, or once it's full, then it will come to an end. All right, guys, we are in this live Q&A, and I hope this information was helpful to you. And I hope that, you stay safe and well wherever you're at, and take care, and we'll see you soon.